Well, that's right, Tom. Joe Biden told supporters today he will not attend his primary night party here in Nashua. Instead, he's already on his way to South Carolina for a rally there, a change from what he told supporters just a few days ago.
We're here straight through to the last vote is counted. I like the fact machines count votes.
That was on Saturday, but today he says he won't be in the Granite State to watch the final results come in. The former vice president says he'll stay in the state until the polls close. Then he already flew to South Carolina for a 9 o'clock rally there. He'll address supporters at his watch party here via live stream. This after saying last week he expected to take a hit in New Hampshire, but he says he's not giving up on the Granite State.
This is just the beginning. We have an entire nation to vote yet. And so what I'm doing is going down after we're going to fight for every vote we have here. And then I'm getting on a plane, heading down there, doing a little rally in South Carolina to get going.
And Biden's sister, Valerie Biden Owens, will actually thank supporters here in person while Biden is rallying in South Carolina. Live in Nashua, Monica Hernandez, WMUR News 9.
Democrat Tom Steyer also left New Hampshire early. He left on Sunday, making a stop in South Carolina before heading to Nevada.
Let's head to WMUR political director Adam Sexton now. And Adam, how should voters be interpreting these early departures here?
Well, Tom and Jen, these are a couple of campaigns on the run right now. They've been forced out of their trenches in New Hampshire, and they're falling back essentially to what they believe is safer territory in South Carolina and Nevada. And now this is how the First in the Nation primary works. It's sink or swim in the churning whirlpool that is this week between Iowa and New Hampshire. Right now, the hot candidate is Amy Klobuchar, and the question is, how high can she climb before the polls close? The polling trend lines look good for her as she tries to catch up to Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, and potentially Elizabeth Warren. The other big question now is, how far will Joe Biden sink? ABC News political director Rick Klein says there will be an interplay between how much support Klobuchar can gain and how much Biden loses.
Joe Biden, right now, the collapse of Biden is a major piece of this. Does he, in fact, fall to fifth place in New Hampshire, having pulled up out of the state entirely?
Of course, a fifth-place finish for the former vice president of the United States would be stunning here. But at this point, he's already trying to move on. He was wheels up out of the airport in Nashua at 4:30 this evening. In the studio, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, Adam, thank you. We will have first returns for you around 8 o'clock when the last polls close. Many polling places are still open right now, including the Amherst Street School in Nashua, where WMUR's Jessica Moran is live now. Jess, what's going on?
Yeah, Tom, well, there's been a significant uptick in activity here, I would say, within the last hour. Obviously, people getting off work, so they're coming here to vote. I asked the town moderator, how would you consider the turnout here? And she said very robust. And of course, they are keeping track of how many people are voting here as the day goes on. And since 5:30 this evening, more than 2,400 people have cast their ballot. A couple voters told us they didn't vote last time around, and they are not happy with where the country is now, so they showed up today. Others said they voted based on the economy and consider it their duty to be here. Some pointed out the importance of New Hampshire in this election.
Considering our population, I'd say it's very important. It's like a cornerstone for the rest of the country to kind of take after, especially after the whole Iowa caucus mess.
Someone who manages to gain enough of Wisconsin and Michigan so that you end up at a 2-to-1 vote deficit. Tell me how important New Hampshire will be.
And for those getting off work, there are still a couple hours left to vote here at Amherst Elementary School. The polls here close at 8 p.m. In Nashua, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.
Now, many polls do show Democrat Bernie Sanders carrying a strong lead here in New Hampshire. He won the 2016 New Hampshire primary. Let's check in with Mike Cherry now, who is with his campaign tonight. Mike?
That's right, Jen. We're live here at SNHU rather, on the campus of SNHU for where his supporters will be filing in just moments for what they believe will be a very successful night. Now, for Sanders, whether or not tonight is a success will be measured against 2016 when he walked away with a convincing victory over Hillary Clinton. And once again, Bernie is at or near the top of the food chain, as you mentioned. Today, Sanders maintained he's confident with how tonight will turn out because his message has resonated with voters.
And I think what you're seeing here in New Hampshire, you saw it in Iowa, I think you're seeing it all over this country, as an involvement, as young people get increasingly involved into the political process. They are worried about climate change. They're worried about racism and sexism and homophobia. They are worried that they're leaving school $50,000 or $100,000 in debt. They want to be involved in the process. I think ours is the campaign that will bring them in.
Now, if there is any speculation as to whether or not Sanders' message has been resonating, he just points to the rally that they held in Durham at UNH last night, where the campaign says more than 7,000 people were in attendance. That does it for us here at SNHU. Now, let's toss things over to Gene Mackin.
Thanks to you, Mike. We are at Nashua Community College. This will serve as Pete Buttigieg's headquarters tonight. A lot of his supporters had a chance to meet him out at the polls this morning. He was up early, 6 a.m. when those polls opened in Manchester, greeting voters and thanking his supporters. We did catch up with him this afternoon and asked him where he needs to place in the first in the nation primary.
I'll let the pundits set the goalpost, but what we know is we do have to have a good showing, and we're positioned to do just that. The energy among the volunteers that I saw before dawn this morning, the folks who've been coming to our events, especially these last few days, tell me that our message is really connecting here in New Hampshire.
Now, he also told us that he feels like the New Hampshire process cannot be replaced, that it's crucial to meet voters in person, saying you cannot digitally carpet bomb your face into a primary like this, a clear swipe at Michael Bloomberg, who took a few votes in Dixville Notch. Live in Nashua tonight, Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.